Welcome back to this series that I would very much like to be over because I'm sick of describing fucking old movies that I haven't seen in 10 years. 5 centimeters per second is the first one on the docket today. The what at the time was the most famous Makoto Shinkai film. Now obviously Your Name is, but this is the one that I think cemented for a lot of people that he would be a legendary filmmaker. Because Voices of a Distant Star was more of like a curiosity. Place Promise in our early days was whatever, but this one really hit people on an emotional level, including myself, because it's a movie about relationships fatalized by distance, of which most of the internet age, including myself, has had experience. But it's also like a really fucking boring goddamn snore fest of a movie, and I love the final scene, the whole music video at the end, but even then, I don't think it's well edited. It's just basically a really fucking good song playing over a bunch of a montage of scenes, but there's not much cohesion between the two of them, and the movie up to that point is just a bunch of moody bullshit. I don't know. I loved this movie when I first saw it, and I think I hate it now, but I have unresolved feelings. This is why I need to make a video about Makoto Shinkai. But in order to do that, I gotta build up a huge backlog. Yeah, we'll get there. Shakugan no Shana, the movie. I think this was a recap of the first arc of Shana, the first book readapted as a movie. So just better animation, but cutting out some of the details. I remember it being shit, and Shauna is shit, so it's probably shit. Noiseman Sound Insect. This is a fucking really interesting, aesthetically short film from Studio 4C, from the director Koji Morimoto, and Masaki Yuasa worked on this. But it's based on... I think it's based on a manga by the guy who did fucking something. Maybe it's not based on a manga. Maybe it's just that it's Koji. Whatever. It's a fucking neat little 15-minute movie that just has cool animation and shit. I don't fucking know, man. It's 6 out of 10. Who cares? Pokemon Ranger. Which one is this? Manaphy. Is this the one where he turns into fucking Poseidon? I think this is the one where Ash turns into fucking Poseidon. He becomes the Prince of the Sea. Ash becomes Poseidon in that movie. I haven't actually seen that whole movie. I've mostly seen the ending a few times. It's fucking weird. Jumping. This is a Osamu Tezuka short. It's only 6 minutes long. It's just I want to say this is an animation test. It's basically this guy is just jumping up and down over the landscape, and it's just nonstop background animation. But I remember not liking it at all. I remember just being oh, this is, well, okay, I get it. This is dumb. So I don't know, a 3 probably. The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. Pretty fucking solid movie. It's a fun, emotional film about this girl who suddenly gains a power to leap back in time a certain amount of days, which she abuses heavily. It's a really cool sci-fi, a fusion of sci-fi with just teen drama. And this is, for me though, another movie that falls into the same trap I've been talking about, because the early part of this movie has so much energy and is so much fun and is so well directed, and then 75% of the way through, it just fucking stops dead in its tracks for nonstop exposition for 15 minutes. It just becomes a huge exposition dump, and it gets really moody, and not there's parts that are genuinely emotional, watching the character breakdown is really emotional, but when it's doing the moody dialogue, explaining the whole fucking plot, it was just oh man, why are you doing this to me? We're so close to a perfectly constructed film. which we later got with Summer Wars. But this is still a great movie. I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10 personally. I know a lot of people like it more. Transformers the movie, which for whatever reason is anime, according to Mal. I've seen this like 5 or 6 times growing up. It's fucking awesome. This is the best Transformers ever was, has been, or will be. Like, the Transformers TV show is shittily animated and not good. And all the anime shows they made, like in the mid 2000s, were shitty and boring. The movies are shitty and boring. The fucking live action movies. Transformers, like Beast Wars is pretty okay, but even that is like kind of, you know, cheesy and dumb. Transformers the movie is actually awesome. Like, it's rad as shit, man. It's fucking cool. It's really well animated. It's got like an all-star voice cast who sound awesome. It moves super fast. Main characters die. Optimus Prime fucking dies like 25% of the way into the movie. It's got a kick-ass soundtrack. It's awesome. I give it like a strong 8 probably, if it's as good as I remember. Like, I loved this movie as a kid. Oh my god, Kenya Boy. Oh, baby. Yeah. Kenya Boy is a movie that I am really excited to watch high, because I've only recently discovered weed, and this is the perfect weed movie. This movie is a fucking journey. It's like, I want to say it's like 2 hours long, an hour and 50 minutes. It feels infinite. This movie feels unbelievably long. It's about a Japanese kid who is accidentally abandoned in Kenya. And like, there's parts where it's like he's, you know, getting chased by wild animals, or there's like wild animals fighting each other. He joins like a tribe. Then there's like this evil cult of fish people, and dinosaurs are there, and atomic bombs, and it is just batshit insane. And it feels like it goes on forever, and it just keeps introducing new shit, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? What the fuck is this movie? And like, sometimes it's gorgeous and sometimes it's hideous. It's a Frankenstein monster of a film, but it is druggy as shit, and I cannot wait to watch it while under the influence of marijuana. One Piece Django Dance Carnival. This is like a music video with One Piece characters. It's fun, but I don't know why it exists or why it's considered a movie. Sword of the Stranger. This film is worthwhile for the action scenes alone. This movie has the best action scenes ever animated. The plot, I don't really give a shit. It's just like generic Chanbara thing. There's a nameless samurai, and he has a kid, and there's a dog, and he fights some people. I don't give a fuck. The animation is fucking insane in this movie. And the final battle, which is like 6 minutes or so of animation done entirely by Yutaka Nakamura, who just like animated. I think they said he spent like a year drawing this one sequence, and I believe it. It's the most well choreographed, the most fucking excellent fight scene ever. Yeah, it's awesome. It's totally fucking awesome, in spite of the plot being literally not worthwhile. Crusher Joe. This is another one of these 80s movies that some people like, but I didn't get it. It's way too long. It's like 2 hours, 11 minutes. I remember being totally bored by this movie. Like, it's a space pulp film that also has like a dystopian thing going on, and the plot just keeps going. It's one of those where like it just keeps introducing new stuff, and I was like, I don't care, man. I want this to be over, and it wouldn't end, and I didn't like it at all. But I know some people do. I think it was also in Buried Treasures on ANN. Evangelion 1.0. It's just the first 6 episodes of the TV show, but the final battle with Ramiel is dope as shit. When I watched this movie, I was completely fine with it. Like, I hadn't seen Eva in like 5 years. It seemed like the same thing but cooler. Like, hey, it's got revamped visuals. It's not as slow, and it's got a cooler final battle. But I have a sneaking suspicion if I watched it now, I would have a lot of problems with it. Like, just, I don't like the visual aesthetic of the Rebuild movies that much. And just the fact that the first 6 episodes of the show are so fucking perfectly directed, I can't imagine that they hold up as well in the movie, but I'd have to see it again. Bleach the movie too. This is a fucking dog shit pile. This is like, it's another generic filler movie, but it's like really bad. And like many of the Bleach movies, I think its main purpose is to give as much attention to the blue-haired kid as possible, because for whatever unknown reason, in Bleach character polls, that kid is always the most popular. And so, like, because he's, like, not really a major character in the manga, like, they'll always give him a bigger role in the movies. Really, they'll give the whole Soul Society bigger roles, because, like, they're all really popular characters, but especially him. The movie's shit. I hated it. I gave it, like, a 2. The Skycrawlers. This is one of my favorite anime movies by Mamoru Oshii. Possibly my favorite of his movies, but I'd have to rewatch them all to say that for sure. But, like, this was a film that the first time I saw it, this movie's insanely slow and, like, really takes a long time to figure out what the fuck the point of it is. So the first time I watched it, I was just kind of like, what was that? Like, and then I saw it again and I was like, okay, now I get it. And then I saw it a third time and my Christ consciousness spiked and I was like, this movie is about me and my problems. And then I wrote a whole emotional thing about it back in the day. Haven't seen it in a long time, but I would be shocked if I didn't love it. And it's kind of one of the things I've kept in my back pocket of like movies that I'm always thinking, well, you know, I could always just review that movie. Like, I'm sure I have an analysis of that because I've analyzed it in the past, and surely I would have just as much to say about it now. So, we'll see. Inaka Isha, this is a fucking really weird art house adaptation of a Franz Kafka's short. I remember, like, understanding none of it, but it was fucking weird to look at. Eva 2.0. This one I really loved when it came out. Like, again, it had been a while since I'd seen Eva. I thought, the way I saw it, I kind of bought into, like, the idea of what Anno said the rebuilds were supposed to be, which is that it's, like, it's a different version of the story where, like, that is meant to kind of invite a new audience to it, like invite a new generation, a new set of people to understand it. I kind of see it as a more open-faced Evangelion, like whereas the original is quite veiled and you really have to peel back the layers to fully get it, and like, you know, it never quite has Shinji like be a badass and get in the robot, like, but I think that's not weird for Shinji to do. Like, I don't think anything about this movie is out of character for Evangelion. It's just going for a much more direct approach. It's like showing us a more in-your-face version of Eva that like spells itself out and is like, here's what Eva is, you know, like, I don't think it's about something different per se, until you get to 3.0, and then I don't know what the fuck it's about. It's a fucking completely mindless nonsense. But, you know, I haven't seen 2.0 in a long time, so I can't really say that I saw it like 2 or 3 times, but all in the span of like 2008 to 2011, so like, you know, no comment on it today, or 2010 to 2011, I think it came out in 2010, I don't remember. But yeah, it's, I remember liking it a lot, and I'd be really curious to know my opinion of it now. I'm going to say I'd probably give it a 7 or 8, because I think it probably holds up as a good movie, whether it's a good version of Eva or not. But 3.0 is a dog shit movie, as well as a dog shit interpretation of Evangelion. 1001 Nights. This is a fucking art house insanity film that I recommend watching if you are at all a fan of Yoshitaka Amano, because it's just Yoshitaka Amano art in a constant state of evolution. Like, this is that kind of animation that you look at and you go, how did this get made? Like, who funded this? It looks incredible. But it's like, it's like one of those acid trip drawings where it's just like something constantly changing and evolving in front of you, but going through like whole other fucking worlds. It's a trip, man. It's Yoshitaka Amano art just come to life and with a mind of its own. God. Trigun, Badlands Rumble, the weird-ass Trigun filler movie that came out like 15 years after Trigun and no one was really sure why, but it's pretty alright. It's a fun time. It's as good as your average Trigun episode, I guess, but with really nice animation, unlike the show. And I enjoyed it. There's nothing special about it. Gurren Lagann the movie, Gurren Hen, which is the first one. The first one is really not worth watching. Like, it cuts out a lot from the original show, and then also, like, the stuff it adds in doesn't really make sense, so I wouldn't even advise watching Gurren Hen. Like, the best way to watch Gurren Lagann is to just watch the whole show, and then later watch the second movie, like, because the second movie is worth seeing for the fan service, but, like, the first one's really not worthwhile. I'd probably give it, like, a 5. One Piece film Strong World. It's a pretty alright One Piece movie. Like, really, One Piece movies are all basically the same. I mean, the only one that really stands out is the sixth one, just for the crazy animation and, like, the kind of unique take on the story. The other ones are all like, yeah, that's a pretty fun One Piece adventure. Glad I got to see my friends again, you know? As someone who doesn't read the manga every week, I get to see all these cool characters I like every once in a blue moon. It's probably like a 6, though. They're basically all a 6. And Lagann Hen, the second Gurren Lagann movie, this one's fucking awesome. I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 9, because, like, it's the second half of the show. It's as good as the second half of the show, and then also it adds on, like, this crazy-ass fucking finale. At least I remember it being as good as the second half. I can't confirm that, but it's pretty cool. Oh, Jesus. Tsukimi no Ie, or Les Maisons et Petites Cubes. The only anime other than Spirited Away to win an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. It's about fucking getting old and being old. It's good. Probably give it like a 7, you know? I'm not the biggest fan of, like, super artsy short films. I tend to think they're cool, but, like, I don't really form much of a connection with them. Summer Wars, on the other hand, it's one of my favorite movies. By far my favorite Mamoru Hosoda film, though I haven't actually seen the Digimon movie that everyone says that this is basically the exact same movie. I mean, I've seen clips from it that look like that is the case, but it's fucking awesome. It's simultaneously a great movie about family and a great movie about the internet and everyone coming together to beat a single foe, and it's just so fucking lively and fun and tight. It's so tight, unlike all the other Mamoru Hosoda films, which drag because they get into all this melodramatic bullshit and they just go on. This movie is an hour and 54 minutes long, and it feels tight and short compared to the other films. It's fucking awesome. I haven't seen it in a long time, though, but I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10 because I love it. Bungaku Shoujo, I hated this movie. It was Book Girl. This was, like, it's a series of light novels that, like, Production IG made a bunch of, like, short movies and then one long movie out of it, and they're just, like, adapting random books or whatever. It's like a mystery detective story. I just thought it was fucking garbage. Like, the characters all sucked, the drama sucked, the mystery sucked, the reveals sucked. It was boring and shitty, and I really hated it. I'd probably give it, like, a 1 or a 2. And also, I really hated the performances. Ibara no O, or King of Thorn. This is one I was disappointed in because I love the artwork. I love the character design style. Not as much in the movie. Like, I'd seen this manga on the shelves many times and wanted to pick it up just for the art. But, it's basically like a horror survival thriller kind of thing where, like, these people wake up from, like, they're all put into cryogenic sleep to, like, wait for a cure to this disease or whatever. But in the time that they're asleep, then, like, the Earth basically gets fucked, and, like, half of them die, like, immediately upon waking up from the cubes. It's pretty brutal and fucking intense. But then it's like, you know, the last 7 or so have to, like, try to find their way out of the facility, but they're all getting picked off one by one and going insane and all that shit. You know, it's horror movie du jour. I just remember not being into it at all. And I'm not generally a horror movie fan, but, like, you know, the characters make a bunch of dumb decisions, and, like, I don't know. And it has, like, a weird plot twist at the end that I thought was stupid or something, but yeah, it's you know, it's one of those. It's that kind of movie. It's a movie. Like a 4 or a 5. Red Line, on the other hand, is fucking badass. One of the most crazy animation experiments ever done. This movie is so, like, there's so much detail in the animation that I actually sometimes get a headache looking at it. Like, I rewatched the opening scene one time and was like, I had to stop because I was like, I can't process all this visual information that's hitting my eyeballs. But it's a pretty fucking badass. Like, it's unbelievable to behold. Like, looking at it, you kind of can't believe it's real. That, like, they actually made this fucking film. But it's pretty badass. It has lots of great characters. Really fun time. The first half of the movie, because, like, it starts off on a big race, and I wasn't that invested in it in the early part. And then there's, like, lots of character building that's kind of slow. But then when you get to the second half of the movie, and the rest of it is just the big race, and that whole thing is just amazing. Like, the movie, when you get into the big race, it's like, okay, this is now a fucking awesome film, and everything that happens from there on out is badass. And, yeah, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. I definitely like it a lot, but not as much as probably some people do who it's more their aesthetic. Break Blade. This was a series of mecha films that, like, they're all like 50 minutes, and it's one of those things where, like, it didn't really need to be a movie. It probably could have been a TV show. It's basically about, like, tactical mech battles. Left no impression on me. Like, I'd probably give all the Break Blades like a 5. There's like 7 of them, and I think I've seen them all, but you know, whatever. Fate Stay Night, the movie Unlimited Blade Works, a famously choppy film from Studio Dean. I should say infamously. I mean, this adapts an entire arc of Fate Stay Night in fucking 2 hours. So, not even 2 hours. So you can imagine how well it's received by a lot of the fans. But this was the first Fate Stay Night story I think I actually consumed. I watched this film. All I really remember is there's a scene where a little girl's heart gets pulled out, and it was really well animated and fucked up, and I was like, holy shit! And then the rest of it, I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, I don't give a fuck. So, yeah, I'd probably give it like a 5, which is probably what I'd give for, like, most Fate Stay Night stuff. Melancholy of Haru Suzumiya, or Disappearance, rather, of Haru Suzumiya, the movie. This is a fucking good movie. It's long as shit. Fucking almost 3 hours long. It is fucking insanely fucking long, and it definitely feels like 3 hours long. I mean, fuck, this movie is, like, almost, like, could have just been a whole season of the fucking show. But, like, it's incredibly animated and everything, and it goes in startling depth. This show has, like, the longest exposition monologues in the world, and somehow it pulls them off just through the strength of its directing and voice acting. That is definitely no small fucking feat. And, I mean, it's as good as the original Haruhi TV show, at least. So, yeah, I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10, which is probably what I'll give Haruhi when I rewatch it. Here comes one of the worst movies I've seen. Lou Garo, or Werewolf, as it's translated. Another Production IG movie that was just weird and shitty. Like, they tried to do something different in some ways, but it made no fucking sense. It's like a really weird sci-fi shit. I don't remember the plot of this. I hated this movie. Like, this is one of those that I thought was shit from an early point, and I just kept watching it out of like morbid curiosity and like a feeling like I had to finish it. But I hated every minute of it, and I wanted it to end. It's definitely a 1 out of 10 movie. Welcome to the Space Show. I really loved this movie. This is like the last thing, one of the last things from A1 Pictures that I thought was, wait, Masaaki Yuasa didn't direct this movie, did he? He just did like the opening sequence, I think. Yeah, I think he did the opening sequence. But anyways, this movie is really fucking fun. It definitely drags a bit. It's over 2 hours long, and it did not need to be that long. But it's about these fucking kids who just suddenly get sucked into fucking space, and space is weird as shit. This movie's interpretation of space is very similar to Space Dandy. Like just the like wild, wacky, weird aliens that show up in like planets that don't even really make sense, except like in the context of, whatever. It's cool as fuck, man. It's really well animated. It's got some badass action scenes. Characters are nice. I loved this movie. I'd probably give it like an 8 or a 9. The only problem with it is that it drags. But that's a problem with all of them. Here's the other Break Blades. We don't need to comment on those. Hoshio o Kodomo. I marked this as completed, huh? So this was the movie that made me start questioning Makoto Shinkai in a big way. Because at the time, he had Voices of a Distant Star, Place Promised in Our Early Days, 5 centimeters per second. I had hated Place Promised, but I still had faith in him because of the other movies. And my friend Dansan was a huge fan of his. We saw this movie at Otakon because they were debuting it there, and Shinkai was there himself. Now, granted, at the time, we were all very sleep deprived and kind of out of it. But we start watching this movie, and like 30 minutes pass, nothing's fucking happened. It's boring as shit. I hated the like weird stilted aesthetic of it. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, it very clearly was an attempt to make like a Ghibli style movie, but with like none of the talent of Ghibli. And like I was sitting here like in abject horror watching this movie, like I can't stay awake through this. And so I passed out, and I think I woke up like a couple of times for maybe a minute, and like weird shit was happening, and I was like, okay, I don't care. So I slept through most of this movie. So the fact that I haven't marked as completed is kind of asinine. I can't score it because I don't remember it, but I hated what I saw. Kizuna Ichigeki, this was like the first of the Young Animator training project. It's basically a bunch of really cool fight scenes that are really well animated about this little girl beating up people 10 times her size, and it's pretty dope. I'd probably give it like a strong 6, light 7 or something. How much fucking time are we in? Alright, we still have a ways to go. The first of the Berserk movies. This really man, it's weird, man. It's weird seeing Berserk this way, because it's Berserk in CG animation, and I don't, to me, the nature of Berserk, it's a gorgeously hand-drawn manga about high fantasy. The fact that it's hand-drawn feels, integral to it, to me. So, seeing it in this kind of, glitzy CG just didn't make sense to me. I was like, why would you put Berserk in this art style? It just doesn't look and feel right. Especially when it's so, bloom heavy and, shiny. And I was like, why? And then, of course, there's the fact that it cuts, huge swaths of the storyline. So, if you've never read Berserk or seen the original anime, this movie can't be good, because it doesn't give you time to acquaint yourself with the characters and care about them. It just moves too fucking fast. So it just is left with like this stilted, awkward version of the story. But then it has one big advantage, which is that the battles are really well done in this movie. Because the battles suck in the original anime. Like, it would just be a bunch of stills of dudes sword fighting. You never had like a real sense of what was going on. In the movies, they're like more tactical, and they show them using like siege warfare and stuff, and that is a huge deal, kind of, because it adds something to Berserk. Like, it adds to the world, that it feels more real, the way that they like took over these castles and stuff. Like, the battles feel more legit, but then the rest of it is like, what? So I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'd probably give it a 6. Like, it's not a bad movie, but it just feels fucking weird. Little Witch Academia. This OVA was fucking incredible, and it really trolled me pretty hard, because this is again from the Young Animator Training Project. It's a 30-minute movie. At the time that this came out, I was not into anime. I was doing MLP videos, and this was the first anime I'd seen in like a year. I thought it was the first episode of a new show. So I was like insanely hype after watching this, that like, oh my god, this is going to be my new favorite anime, like this show that comes out. And then I find out that it's not, and it's just a one-off. And at the time, there was no Kickstarter yet, there was nothing coming out, and I was just like tortured. I was tormented by it. I was like, no. But you know, I'd probably give this episode just by itself like a fucking 9 out of 10. Like, it's incredibly fucking solid. And now there is a TV show and a sequel, and I haven't seen either one, and I need to. Oh my god, was that the last movie? No. We're gonna just finish off the Kara no Kyokai Manor movies. I think I left this unscored because I just didn't know how to score it. These are these like short claymation films that would air before Kara no Kyokai, like telling you to not use your cell phone in the theater, and they're pretty cute and fun. And like, I mean, I'd probably score them like a 6, but like, I think I just loved the concept of them so much that I felt bad about scoring them only a 6. So yeah, but anyway, all right, that's all the movies. Oh, you know what? Let's throw in Ocean Waves, because even though this is considered a special, because it was a TV special, but like, it's a Ghibli movie as well, and it's really good. I'm surprised it has such a low score. I mean, I haven't seen this movie in a long time, but I loved it when I saw it. It's a contemporary drama about like coming into adulthood, essentially. It's like, it starts off as like kind of a teen drama, but then the characters graduate and they like sort of reflect on what happened and like what mattered about it. And I remember thinking it was really good. And it's a fucking Ghibli. It's one of the few Ghibli movies that was from a totally outside director, Tomomi Mochizuki. You know, I liked it a lot anyways, but I'd probably give it like an 8. I definitely had given it a 10 at the time. I think I wrote a Mal review giving it a 10 at the time. But I think that's probably the only special that I really need to cover here. Most of these, Anikuri 15 is another compilation film of like different directors each doing their own short, but in this case they're only 1 minute long, so that's pretty interesting in its own right. There's one by Makoto Shinkai, one by Satoshi Kon, and a bunch of other cool people. So yeah, it is a good thing that exists. How long would it even take me to do the ONAs? Does it need to be another episode? How many ONAs are there? There's not a whole lot. Let's just finish this all off in this episode. Let's go back through and see what shit is worth commenting on, and we'll just finish it up here. We got some more Pokemon shit. Bunch of fucking specials. The Kamichu specials, which is just the last 4 episodes of the show, which are like some of the best episodes. So those are great. The Maria Samagami Teru specials are pretty funny. The Bakano specials, which is the last 3 episodes, which are, I like them, but like they feel weird because they're totally different from the way the show is, and they have no conclusion because they were obviously meant to segue into a second season that never came. The Hidamari sketch specials are always great. They're always just basically like another episode of Hidamari sketch. blah, 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 blah. These all have scores. Alright, ONAs. We're just gonna fucking rush through these. Aru Tabibito no Nikki. This is a really interesting sort of weird artsy traveling guy show. This is basically Kino's journey if each episode was only 3 minutes and it had a weird art style. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. Hoshizora Kiseki, I remember this being total dog shit. I don't even remember if I definitely, this was like a one guy animated thing or something like that. It was directed by Akio Watanabe. Akio Watanabe, what were you doing? This guy is the greatest character designer of all time. Character designer of Bakemonogatari. And he wrote and directed and storyboarded and everything this thing. And it's not good. Yeah, I remember it being really shitty. So I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he just wanted to direct an anime and found out he wasn't good at it. This is another similar one. This is definitely like a one guy. Yeah, this one dude just like made this whole thing. It's 6 minutes long and it's whatever. I don't like it. Hoshizora Kiseki, I remember really hating. I'd probably give that like a 1, but this one is like probably a 3. Cat Blue Dynamite. God, these are all like weird, shitty CG shorts. Candy Boy, I remember thinking was pretty alright. I think this was like the first episode of it came out by itself, and then they also made like a 6-episode thing, and you know, it's whatever. It was like a Yuri incest thing. I liked that, but there's nothing special about it. Neko Ramen. This was just like a charming little series of things about this cat that runs a fucking ramen store. Alright, here's something actually worthwhile. Cat Shit 1. This is fucking awesome. So Cat Shit 1 is based on a manga. I think the manga was actually like long running, but this is just one little fucking CG animated, really well, by the way, 22-minute action thing. It's just like a tactical battle scene about these fucking bunnies like fighting in Iraq. Like, it's straight up like a completely serious military strategic shooter episode, but the characters are all bunnies. It's pretty great. Halo Legends. So this one is really weird and unfortunate. Like, some of these are cool, but like out there. But then there's one that's the B-Train one that was what incited my hatred of B-Train. Like, it was just so unbelievably shit. Because some of these are like just, one's like Studio Bones and it's just an action scene for like 9 minutes. Then there's like a really weird Mamoru Oshii one. Like, I don't think he directed it, but he wrote it, and it's fucking like some heady bullshit, and with like really weird art style. But then there's this one B-Train one that's like an incomprehensible clusterfuck, and it basically sent me off the deep end with that studio for years. Hoshini Nagayo. These are a couple of like fairly interesting little CG things. They look like they were animated in like Miku Miku Dance or something, but they both star this cute girl voiced by Miyuki Sawashiro, I think, yeah. And she's just like in space, but like travels into like dreams or something. They're weird and kind of neat, but not really worth watching. They're probably like a 4 or a 5. Yutori-chan. This is like a comedy of like super short episodes about these 3 girls who work in an office, and they have really fucking cute character designs and good voice actors. God, Yuki Aoi and Kana Hanazawa. That's probably why I watched all of this. I don't really remember anything about it. I just remember that that had good voice acting and art. What the hell? Ore no Imoto specials. I don't even remember watching those. Yeah, that's it. That's all the ONAs. There's just a bunch of music videos. Even if I haven't scored these, I'm not going to talk about them because they're fucking music videos. I don't know what the fuck to say. Thankfully, they all seem to be scored, though, because I watched all of them for that project on the music videos you should check out. So there you go. That's how I would score all the shows I haven't scored, my brief thoughts on them. you know, if you want to know my thoughts on all the other shows, there's comments in there, and I've probably talked about them in videos before. Like, there's not a lot of shows that I have scores for that I've never mentioned in a video. So, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm fucking glad to be done with it. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next.